After completing our 2-week river cruise, Catherine and I caught a train in Budapest for the trip to her home in Switzerland. We found that European trains are very dependable, efficient, and they run on time. We learned that the hard way because we were 2 minutes late catching our connection train to Zurich from Budapest.
We missed the train and had a 2-hour wait for the next one.
However, we finally arrived in the city of Thun, just south of the nation's capital, Bern. The city of Thun is located in approximately the middle of Switzerland, and it turned out to be a good location as we explored the city on a beautiful day and found 2 rivers running through the center of town. All along the sidewalks by the rivers you will find shops and quaint little restaurants. These shots were taken on a Saturday while the farmers market was going on in the city. We were welcomed as well by this all-woman steel band. In the middle of the city, the lake empties into the Arn River through a series of locks. We watched this guy trying to hang 10 and catch a wave in the outflow from one of the locks. There are several passenger boats that run from east to west along Lake Thun. One afternoon, we took one of these boats from the city of Thun to the little settlement called Merligen.
Merligen is where the chalet is located.
Here is a picture of Catherine's home in Merligen, where we stayed for the 2 weeks. And here's Catherine.
Later, we took another boat from Merligen to the city of Interlaken, which is at the east end of the lake.
Shown here is a steam-powered paddle boat built in 1906, and it's still running. Interlaken is a picturesque little town filled with shops, cafes, and bistros. You can find all kinds of interesting things to buy here. We were surprised to hear this harp being played, and beautifully played, as we walked along the sidewalk. On the east end of Interlaken is a large park and grassy area where the hang gliders come in to land. They typically launch from a mountain peak at about 5,000 feet above the city and have a great view of the area as they soar overhead. If you have a special Swiss pass, travel on buses, trains, and ships there is all prepaid. We enjoyed several boat trips on Lake Thun and explored the interesting sights along the way. We noted that this hanging road was suspended from the cliffside with beams. On the cruise back, we enjoyed the many interesting and beautiful vistas along the lakeside. Our next trip was to the Jungfrau mountain range. It lies southeast of Lake Thun. I found that train access to the Jungfrau Peak, or Jungfrau Joch as the Swiss call it, is possible only because the Swiss had built a train tunnel inside the mountain. It winds through 4 miles of solid rock, as in an engineering marvel in itself. The tunnel was started in 1896 and completed about 30 years later. This map was posted trainside and shows a diagram of the tunnel inside of the Eiger Mountain. Because a normal locomotive would slip on the steep grade, they had to put a linear gear in the center of the track and a drive gear in the engine in order to propel the train upward. My cell phone captured our elevation at the top. Here is one of the many glaciers that winds down from the mountain. The views from the top of the mountain are spectacular, as you can see here. Some trainside views on our return to Interlaken. We took a side trip one day up to visit Bonn, the capital of the country. We visited the Cathedral of Bonn, a Gothic structure started in 1421. This is where Catherine was confirmed into the church. Another interesting sight in Bonn is this huge clock tower called the Zeitglocke, built in 1467. It not only tells the time, but the day of the week, phase of the moon, and more. Every hour, a metallic man at the top of the tower can be seen swinging a big hammer to strike a bell and ring out the hour. The Swiss railroad system has a special 5-hour trip through the Alps. It's called the Glacier Express, and it winds past alpine meadows, beautiful vineyards, and of course, some amazing mountain views. Here are a few shots out the window from that 6-hour train trip.
Nissen Peak sits across the lake from the chalet at an altitude of 7,800 feet. It is covered in snow during the winter, but in warmer weather there is a cable car that takes you up to the top for some fantastic views. The steep railroad climb to the Matterhorn also requires a cog railway. As one might expect, there are many interesting sights along the way. As we passed this village of St. Nicholas, it made me wonder if this might be Santa's summer home. After arriving at the village of Zermatt, we changed trains to take us on a separate cog railway to the higher elevation and the glaciers around the Matterhorn. From there, we had the best views of the Matterhorn mountain itself. I happened to look out the train window and saw these lenticular clouds over the mountains. These are very unusual, and I know they are dangerous to fly in. Our last adventure was to the small hillside village of Hobkern above Interlaken. Catherine's niece and husband drove us there to see a very special Swiss tradition that only happens once a year. And this is the celebration of bringing down the cows from the Alps for the winter. The Swiss call it Zuglet, and we were very fortunate indeed to be there on that particular day.